the project is a real standout project. It continues to grow. We will continue to grow that resource. There's no doubt in that. The grade will continue to stay as one of the highest grade ore bodies in Australia, and one of the better ones globally as well. So we're talking about a project that really is, moving towards that tier 1 sort of status, and we really have sort of turned that chapter to become the next growth story in Australian gold.
Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up and do leave your comments below. It really helps us try and understand the sorts of questions and thoughts and ideas that you have with regards to companies and the things that you're looking from us. If you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this, click the notification bell. We spoke today to Steve Parson, the MD of Bellevue Gold, an Australian explorer moving into a development phase. They've raised 26 million bucks from BlackRock out of London, and we talked to him about what he's going to do with that money. That should see them through for the next 18 months. They've got a few options on the table. Do they continue to build out their resource, currently sitting at 2.2 million ounces, or do they try to get into earlier production? Well, listen to what Steve has to say. You can look in the description below to some of the topics we discuss. If you like anything in particular, click on the relevant timestamp and I'll take you there. So in the meantime, let's see what Steve had to say. Hello, Steve. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. Yep, good to see you.
Yep. You at home? It's hard to tell with all of that core sitting behind you.
I know it's a good example of some of the high-grade core that we've got at Bellevue. But yes, I am at home along with the rest of the family, all working in other rooms and the likes. So I can assure you, you don't want to be seeing what's behind me in this room.
Yeah, we've got the same issue. I think everyone's got the same issues. Everyone's working from home. But I'm glad to see you've mastered the technology of getting that backdrop there. That's fabulous. I was saying, there was a guy yesterday who was insistent that he had a scene of a forest behind him because he had a green story. I'm like, no, that's not happening. Anyway, Steve, long time since we spoke. Spoke in June last year. Heard the beginnings of what sounded like quite a good story. A lot has happened since then. But why don't we kick off with a 1-minute summary and then we'll kind of get into a bit of a catch up.
Yeah, look, no worries. I'm sure some of your viewers are probably familiar with Bellevue, but if they're not, we've had a great discovery. It was only literally 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago now, where we drilled our discovery hole into the Bellevue Gold Project. The project's located in a major gold mining region in Western Australia, a huge mineral endowment surrounding us, and a project that just hadn't had any work done on it for 20 years or so. The first drilling came back very positive. We came out with a maiden resource of 500,000 ounces. We grew it to 1 million ounces last year. We're now at 2.2 million ounces of gold in the inferred category. It's very much open to the north, it's open to the south, and we've recently found mineralisation in the footwall and hanging wall. And probably one of the real key things on the project is that the grade is, a magnitude higher than most ore bodies. So we're currently at 11.3 grams per tonne gold, and that grade has always stayed consistently high in every resource that we've put out, and we'll be expecting that to continue as well throughout 2020 as we grow the resource and move it towards development as well. We just recently completed a capital raising of $26 million with institutions on that. And so now we have a clear path runway forward for the next 18 months to continue all the exploration that we need to do, as well as all the infill drilling, as well as economic and engineering study work ready to take us through to the next stage of actual into development. So it's been a really exciting 2 years that we've just had, and we're certainly looking forward to the next 2 years ahead of us as well.
Good man. Thanks for the summary, Steve. I guess that's the key thing about you guys. The grade is phenomenal, right? 11.3 is fantastic, and you're attracting as a result some big institutional names. So let's just talk about this raise that you did recently, because it's meant the introduction of some new names, and I'm wondering, who followed their money.
Yeah, so our register has grown. Our shareholder register has changed and grown, since we've had the discovery. So it's gone from being, a pure retail mum and dad type company when we very first started as a junior company. And now we'd be sitting at probably close to 60% institutional, global institutions that range from, North American resource long type groups through to Australian superannuation type money, Southeast Asian and European funds as well. But we're looking for gold exposure. So, that register has definitely evolved and grown and become much more sophisticated over time. And we recently, you would have seen in that raise that it was strongly supported by Cornerstone, who's gone substantial in us. That's BlackRock out of the UK, which is in the public domain. And then we had very, very strong support for the remainder of that raise from our existing shareholders.
Okay, so what I want to get into today is what are they buying into? Because if I look at your share price last year, it didn't really do anything, right? I don't know if that's because of the phase you're at or the fact there was no news or whatever, but for whatever reason, but you've been able to go and tell a story to these institutions about what it is that you're going to go and do. So what I'm seeing since we last spoke is significant increase in the resource. Great, the grades have stayed the same, but what's the plan? What are you building here?
Yeah, so look, everything starts from discovery. Before you have that discovery, hey, share price does whatever, and it's all on the back of, this and that. However, from the day of discovery, you've got to remember, when we started, it was a 3-cent share price. 3 years ago from when we first got on the property, and here we are now at, I think touching on 50 cents. So it's not too bad a return so far, and hopefully the trajectory will continue to go like that long term as we continue to, prove up ounces. But the strategy has changed a little bit over the last 12 months. It has been very much just a brand new exploration discovery to start with the exploration team, and we've continued to step out and find more gold. However, we are now moving towards that next stage of infill drilling, beefing up that confidence level, getting it ready, bringing on board, team members that have built mines, moving it into the development ready stage. So it's not just now about exploration. We really have sort of turned that chapter to become, the next, hopefully growth story in Australian gold, and one of the next gold mines that will be up and running as well.
Okay, I guess, look, you have been a great story. You go from 3 cents to 50 cents, and no one's going to knock you for that. That's fantastic in that time frame as well. So a lot of retail guys and gals have made money, but you've got to keep that. You talked about hopefully being able to keep that trajectory going. It gets harder. So this is what I'm asking you. Institutional guys don't need such big returns. They're not, they're not taking the risks of the early stage. You've proved that you've got the ounces in the ground. You've proved you've got the continuing grades. But what is it that they're looking for you, and what have you told them that you're going to be able to do? Because these are not, they've got choices. So why you?
Yeah, they certainly do have choices. Every investor has a choice, as we all know, and they've all got their own views on why they're investing in companies as well. And each, view may be a slightly different one. So it may range from, hey, we'd like to see the resource growing. We think that resource growth will be the way the company creates value. Others will think it's on, de-risking it and moving to the next level. Others will be looking at it as, will you be a takeover target? And others will be looking at it purely as, when you get into production, then the re-rating will be huge. So look, hopefully we'll be ticking off a few of those boxes over the next, 6 to 12 to 18 months and continuing that trajectory. I mean, the key thing is the project is a real standout project. It continues to grow. We will continue to grow that resource. There's no doubt in that. It's very much open. The grade will continue to stay as one of the highest grade ore bodies in Australia, and one of the better ones globally as well. So we're talking about a project that really is, moving towards that tier 1 sort of status, and hopefully we can demonstrate that over the next year or two. However, the big re-ratings ultimately happen as you move into production, and we all know that what the power of production does, and would be expecting to see on the back of, this indicated category coming out shortly this quarter, and then on the back of economic study work that'll be coming out as well, that this will in theory be a high margin mine, highly profitable type mine. And so on the back of that, we'd be expecting to see, good re-ratings happening as we move it towards, into development and ultimately production, and hopefully executing on that, on the whole way through as well.
But can you talk to me about, again, I'm just really interested in terms of how management teams' decision making is influenced by the types of investors that they've got. Obviously, retail, have different levels of experience and knowledge, and they have, they will shout out for different types of behavior from you. But the institutional guys, they typically like scale. They want to know how big this thing can be, and they want you to build out a massive resource. It has always been thus with them. So 2.2 million ounces at the moment. Are they looking for you to hit specific, like BlackRock? They will have had a conversation with you and said, "What's the plan, Steve? Are we going for 5 million ounces? Are we going for 10 million ounces before we start getting into moving towards getting into production?" Because then comes the kind of capex phase. I mean, what do those discussions look like? I think that would be a real insight for people watching this.
Yeah, look, I mean, our messaging is always consistent from when I discuss with a purely retail shareholder that might have $1,000 looking to invest through to a major institutional investor, and it's the same as talking to a research analyst or yourself. Messaging is very, very simple, as in, like, we tell the same story no matter who we're talking to, and of course that's all in the public domain, and we make sure that we try and get across what we're trying to achieve as well. But to quickly summarize it, I guess we have, as I said, it's been great success with the exploration drill bit. We discovered gold for $15 Australian an ounce, which is unheard of still. It's it's huge, on the lower side of discovery costs. And the reason being is the background you can see in the background on here is the drill core, and you can see these massive sulfides that we have, the pyrrhotite. We can vector in with this downhole electromagnetics, and of course it's a really cheap, efficient way for us to step out and find gold. So that's worked really, really well for us, and it's a bit of a game changer compared to other projects that are out there, I think, and the fact that we've been able to do it so cost effectively, and we continue on broad spacings to do that. So in one regard, without a doubt, resource growth is key. However, we are an exploration company at the moment, and exploration companies have to go back to the market to raise more funds. And we could probably carry on doing that forever, who knows, but the markets are different these days, and to get into production and have cash coming out from production, we see that as a huge benefit, and that is what we're now moving to. And our take on life is that the capital cost should be relatively low compared to a lot of others, and again that goes because of the grade. It's at the moment 11 gram ore body. We're not talking about a 1-2 gram ore body which will require a big mill. This will be a very small mill on granted mining licenses in a major gold mining district, so those sort of costs will be very manageable. And so we see, the power of production as being something very, very important for us, and, to get up and running on something probably a smaller scale compared to if we kept on drilling and proving it up to 5 or 6 or 10 million ounces before we push the button on a mill. However, having said all that, the economic study work and engineering work is progressing as we speak. We're going to come out with that maiden indicated category this quarter, which of course is the basis for putting out JORC and ASX required scoping studies and pre-fee studies. And of course, we will be continuing to drill throughout 2020, and you'll see another upgrade coming out in the fourth quarter of this year, which again will upgrade the size and scale of what we're talking about as well. Okay, so
I like that. The thought of getting into production, I think money is quite cheap at the moment, and deciding and defining that arbitrage between continuing to grow resource and getting into production, creating your own cash so that you're not going out to market borrowing money all the time. That's a kind of fascinating one, which I'd love to talk to you about at some time. But for now, you've just raised $26 million. How much cash does that give you at the moment in the bank? What's your total cash position?
Look, it's over $30 million Australian. So, that's a good number for us. That puts us in a position that we have a clear runway forward for the next 18 months now. So we're fully funded all the way through to July next year with, a whole bunch of work that's going on. So you're not going to see us slowing down. However, you are seeing us doing it in more of a controlled measure at the moment with 2 drill rigs on site. There'll be a third rig turning up shortly to do the open pittable material. Then we've got some regional targeting to do, as well as all the engineering study work as well.
Right, so the money is geared towards what? So how do you split that money between expanding the resource and moving this thing, or getting the elements in place to be able to get this thing into production?
Look, I think we've done a really good job so far on, sort of growing the resource. That's always happened, and it's going to continue to happen at the same rate of knots. I believe we've discovered gold at something like 80,000 ounces a month, every month, and we expect it to grow at the same sort of rate as well. So it's, really fast discovery costs on the inferred category. Now, the last 6 months, we've also done the infill drilling, and we're going to continue doing infill drilling on those inferred ounces to increase that. So that'll be a 2-pronged attack, and then the third prong will be the engineering works as well. So we expect all those 3 things to continue on as we have done in the past, but the new one being the engineering works, where we'll be coming out the second half of this year with economic study work as well.
You still buying shares?
Yeah, I just invested a fair bit the other day in the company, as you would have seen on the ASX platform.
And the rest of the board too, they're excited about what they see in the coming up, do they? Are they?
Look, without a doubt, we're hugely excited. The team is, these sorts of ore bodies don't come around very often, and it's very rare to have a project, in granted mining licenses in one of the best mining jurisdictions that there is out there in the globe, and so we're super excited to be moving it up to the next level.
And have you got any new additions joining the team, or do you think you've got all the skill sets you need in house to deliver your story?
Yeah, look, the key people have recently joined us. So we've gone from being a really good exploration company. We've got a great exploration team led by Sam Crux there as our chief geologist. And had some fantastic growth, and you'll see that continuing to grow. There's no doubt about the growth of the resource. It will continue to grow at the same sort of rate of knots and the same sort of grade. But as we move to that next phase, we have built the board, so built the management team. So we've just had Craig Jones join us as the Chief Operating Officer, Christmas last year, January this year. So his background is building mines. He was involved in Pilson's mine for Northern Star, and was with those guys for a very long time. So we've got full confidence in him and running the study work and dewatering and underground on that. We've also just had Luke Gleeson join us as well, again, ex-Northern Star employee, and he's involved in huge wealth creation there for their business. So he's come across to join us as corporate development and investor relations, and helping us grow the business to the next level as well. We also have brought on board Deanna as well, who's helping on HR, so building the team that goes underneath them as we move it into that next stage as well. So resident mine managers, health and safety, people like that as well. So yeah, we believe we've got the right executive management team in place now as a base to build on where we go, on the back of whatever the engineering works are going to come in with. And also, as we build the group, the board of directors will be growing as well, because of course now we're an ASX 300 company. You'll see 2 independent non-executives joining the board very, very soon as well. And of course, they will be bringing in a wealth of experience as well at this sort of level.
And do you still find retail investors relevant to your story, or are you now going to be focusing on primarily institutional funding and investment?
No, not at all. Look, retail is without a doubt, a major component of our investor base. They'd be making up a good sort of 40%, 35% of the register. And of course, we try and maintain, we were up until the COVID is, not allowing us to do conferences. But of course, getting out to these conferences and seeing our retail and communicating what we're up to is hugely important for us. It's our backbone for sure.
Do you think they understand your story now? Because you've obviously evolved it slightly in the last 12 months. What's the kind of feedback or pushback you're getting from them?
Oh, I mean, look, each is, again, we've got something like 2,000 retail investors on the register, so it's a lot. So I don't think we can herd them all into one category. Everyone's in there at different stages. So I'm sure some have been in from very, very early on to some that are just coming on, at the moment. But I think the main thing is that, hopefully what we're communicating to the market in general for both institutional and retail, which is the same messaging, and it's all there on the ASX platform and social media and websites and the likes as well, is that, the growth will continue for exploration. It's hugely exciting for us at the moment. We're fully funded, and you're going to see us, coming out with what should be some really exciting development scenarios, and then moving that forward into production. And there's only a handful of new mines that are about to start down here in Australia, and in the gold space, and we should be at the forefront of that in the next couple of years. And one of the real standouts for us that I think probably the market's starting to understand now as well is that the grade is it's just been so significant and so consistent. And of course, what that means is, profitability should be very high, and it also means that the capital cost to get up and running should be very low as well. So really manageable, numbers for us.
Okay, and give some information from on the ground, as it were. Obviously, COVID-19, different companies are reacting in different ways. Different provinces are behaving in different ways. And everyone's got their own approach to this. What's happening on the ground where you are? Is it affecting your productivity?
No, look, we're very fortunate. The West Australian government has been doing a very, very good job on COVID-19. There's certainly plenty of policies and procedures and rules in place for us, of which we're abiding to all of those. But being an exploration company, we're actually in a really fortunate position. We have a camp out in the bush, with a sealed highway next to us, so we can go in and out and get supplies in and the likes. We have rosters where it's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, so people are up there for a period of time. Those rosters can change for longer if we need to. But right now, the team is set up there. It's all full steam ahead. Nothing's slowing us down. And the only thing that could possibly slow us down is if government rules and regulations changed. But for us, without a doubt, we're well on top of it, and it looks pretty good to us.
Cool. Okay, Steve. Thanks for the update. You're progressing things really nicely. It's nice to watch from outside, see how you're building this, and as you evolve, and the management team is changing and evolving as well. You've got the cash. Very nice position to be in, and I look forward to hearing from you maybe later this year when some of these events actually happen. Pick up the phone, give us a call.
Yeah, look, and I really appreciate you guys keeping eye on us. It'd be great to give you another update in the next few months. Coming up with that indicated category is going to be great, and walking you guys through that and what that means and where we're moving towards with this engineering work. So look, yeah, definitely I'll be in touch in the next few months.
Good man. Thanks a lot.